Yeah, please, if I can, Chair. And I mean, look, I think that these two amendments obviously involve the title and the description of the bill. And these are issues that we've had a lot of discussion about. But we still think it's very important that we do give it the attention that it needs, even at this late stage. And really what our amendment is seeking to do is a tweaking of the language to, in our opinion, better reflect the reality of the legislation in the context of the majority vote and indeed the significant mobilisation of people 6 months ago across the country and indeed across the generations to repeal the 8th Amendment. Now, we believe the Minister's definition that there are parts which are welcomed, like the repeal of the Protection of Life During Pregnancy Act, which wasn't fit for purpose, and that's good, and also the provision to make available without charge services for women in relation to the termination of pregnancy. But the bits that are not helpful, that we're trying to amend here, really is, we think, are not helpful in the overall sense of establishing women's rights, and that's about the continued criminality and stigmatisation of abortion by the inclusion of to provide for offences in respect of the intentional ending of the life of the fetus, and in fact for the avoidance of the word abortion really doesn't come in anywhere, and the phrase access to abortion. So that's what this is about. The Minister's title doesn't, in our opinion, reflect the purpose of the bill, the intention of the yes vote, which was to provide access to abortion within the Irish healthcare system so that women aren't forced to travel or buy the pill illegally online. And the problem with the bill as it's presently drafted is that the only reference to access in the bill as published is in the offences section. Access to health services, in my opinion, should mean the timely use of personal health services to achieve the best outcomes for all women, regardless of their geographic or economic status or indeed other factors. So what we should be saying in the title is people with disabilities, those in direct provision, those in any form of incarceration need to be guaranteed access, and it's not presently mentioned. They should get the same care, and it requires, I suppose, gaining entry into the healthcare system, finding the information through a number of platforms, a lot more than just a helpline. We'll deal with this later, which isn't accessible to everybody. I mean, deaf women can't access a helpline. So we need to look at access. That's what it was about. We need healthcare professionals being able to communicate with their patients and so on. And what it should be is about removing barriers, and in this sense, obviously, barriers to abortion care. So therefore, I suppose what we're saying is it's very important that the title reflects the tone of what we're doing here. And it was a vote to provide access to abortion. And I think if we avoid the word abortion, now I know the Minister has said, oh, this is on the advice of the Attorney-General. The Attorney-General says, oh, it's not in the Constitution, so you can't use the word abortion. That's an incredibly weak argument. Legislation doesn't have to mirror the Constitution. It's absolute nonsense, actually. I mean, the Constitution talks about dissolution of marriage, but yet we have the Family Law Divorce Act. We have divorce in our law, but it's not in the Constitution. This is exactly the same thing here. And I think the group Lawyers for Choice in particular are very clear that the term access to abortion that we want to include doesn't create actually any inconsistency with the Constitution. If anything, actually, it reflects the reality. It's flexible in terms of access. People voted against messing around with ambiguous language that created barriers for women, and we think that the title should reflect that. I know the Minister has talked about, oh, if you take out the mention of the fetus, you'll be removing all protection of the fetus because the 8th Amendment. That's not true. The whole law is framed in the context that the protection of the fetus, if you like, grows with the fetus, in that we're not providing access to abortion beyond 12 weeks except in very limited circumstances. So there's a whole raft of protections there. It doesn't need to be specified in the headline like this. So we actually kind of feel it's quite important, particularly given where Ireland is coming from, that we set the tone right up front, and the manner in which it's been done now I don't think reflects really what Irish people voted on. So.